to another episode of Tractor Addict, where I'm taking my 1954 Ferguson with a Land Rover 300 TDI engine from John O Groats to Land's End. We're going to cut the rear box, make it fit the tractor, and weld it back up and get it in a coat primer. I've got the box all marked up now, so I'll get prepped for cutting and we'll get it in two. There we have it, she's all cut. I was trying to magnet it together for you, but they are absolutely rubbish. I know it's covered in rust, so that's not helping, but I do struggle with them magnets. It's our waste piece, so quite happy with that. She looks smart once she's all tacked up together, and I'll do it with a MIG. I'll run right across it with a MIG to do a decent job. But next step is I'm going to prep it all up with a wire wheel so I can start and get it ready for welding. I've gone around it, give it some tacks, and I'll just weld the rest of it up. Tell you what I will do though is check it's the right size. There we go, she's fully welded up. It's not too bad considering, really. Just thought I'd show you that before I clean it up. Bit of red oxide just to cover over the weld, but we're happy. And even when we open her up, both latches lock on. Welded up in there as well. Next job with this will be a full buff down and paint it up properly. I've made this bracket here. It's bolted in the bottom of the tractor there with some brand new studs. I'll show you that in a second. And the box is now all complete in red oxide, and that can hopefully sit on here, bolt on, and I'm going to tie it in to the mudguard stroke roll bar bolting on point there. So I've made some brackets for that as well. So she's got 4 studs there, all nutted up. There we go, that's the box lifted on. Obviously it needs bolting and tying in properly, but that's what we're aiming for. Time we get the mudguards on as well, it won't look too stupid. Now with the box mounted, I want to support it a little bit more and get a little bit more support on the tow bar as well. So down there we've got some sort of flanged, if you want to call it, bits of angle which will bolt onto the roll bar support. Then a cross piece of angle which I can then use to bring down to the tow bar as well. So we'll get that welded up. The box is all on there, all tied in nicely with the angle frame around the bottom, with the tow ball attached. And there we go. So I can see any traffic behind me on this journey. I'm sure there won't be. I'm going to mount a mirror on the tractor, but to do that I'm going to make a little bit of an upright pole to add it to, and also a camera mount so we can take you guys along with us. Now I'm just looking to fit the mirror. Whoa, look at the 8200 there. Woohoo! I'm looking to fit the mirror on the Fergie so I can see the traffic behind me. And I've got this bracket here, there's quite a good gap there, so it shouldn't touch. Just so happens the hole's actually mounted on where the vac pump used to be on the engine. So I've got the mirror, I've got a bracket what now fits, and I've also got a nice bit of tube which I'm going to glue on there, keeping it away from the bonnet, which will allow me to fix the mirror and a camera mount, so when I'm on the run you'll get to see some footage. So we're going to take this off and we'll weld it on. So I've got this M8 bolt which the mirror is going to clamp to, but I also want to put a camera mount on the top here, so I've put that in the lathe, turned it down to 1/4 UNC. the easiest, try to do one-handed. I'll come back to you when it's done. And it's what all the camera fittings have, so hopefully if we've done it right, and I can do it one-handed, he says. What I need is a camera stand, don't I? Put my phone in. There we go, she's on. And that's on that, pretty damn good. There we go with the mirror bracket all attached. You can see that. And we've got the mount on the top here for where the camera will go on. This is just a part of a camera mount. But it's just tapped on there, quarter UNC. Right, what I need to do, I need to make a spacer piece, because when a roll bar's fitted I use that, and you can see where it's just been rubbing there, so I need slightly thicker than that. What I'm going to do, or what I've already done but we didn't quite catch it with the film, is put that on there, go around, tap it and get the holes as well, which will give me a template like that to plasma cut out. For extending the wires on the beacon, I've soldered, used some heat shrink to cover it over, then either side with a tie wrap to add strength, then around with the electrician's tape. Up next is a little bit of footage I did for TikTok, and I'll play that for you because you get to see the tractor a little bit more advanced than we currently are in the video, and you get to see it out on the road. Today's the day we're going to give it a run out on the road and you get to see how she goes. You can see now we've got a little bit more work done on there. We've got the roll bar, we've got some Go Faster orange on there, we've got a mirror mounted which was provided by APUK, we've got a box mounted on the back and a tow ball. I'm going to do the tractor run. So let's get to it, let's get on the road. You can see a little bit of oil there on the wheel, and that's come from up behind there. So that's why we need to put the sure seals in and redo the brakes. Now we've moved the Fergie because we're going to do the brakes and the sure seals. So she's jacked up and she's on axle stands as well. That's the wheel off, and just for comparison next to the 8200. So the next job is to get the drum off. So we'll do that now. So the first thing we need to do is back off the brakes, and that's this one here. Now back on the earlier videos of this tractor, I had a lot of problems getting this brake drum off. So now, because of all the work we did last time, I run a little bit of grease around there, stopped everything nipping, it's actually able to just come straight off. The next job is to go around and get all these bolts out, and that should allow us to separate this away for the half shaft to come out so we can get and replace the sure seals. Right, I've just stripped out the brakes, so I've took the nut and the washer off there and there. I've undone the springs, and it had that little dog bone plate there, which is this one here. So they're removed, and that's the adjuster there. So everything's now free, and they should just come off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set them up in another place now, so I know the order what everything goes in. We've got it out now, you can see there. We'll get this out and have a look. There we go, that's the half shaft out. You can see here we have some spacer shims, and yeah, that's just another shim. But what I haven't got is a gasket which goes on this bit. So there wasn't a gasket on this face here, so I'm going to make one out of some gasket paper I've got, and we'll install that because that's where the oil's been leaking down the back. So we'll get the sure seal fitted and make a new gasket. So it turns out I was lying, there was a bit of a gasket on there. It's seen better days. We've copied that and made a new one. So we've filled the bearing full of grease, we've tapped the sure seal down. I just used a bit of a punch there just to work round to get it seated, and you can see I've used my best grease. I call this my shore grease because it's nice and white, looks nice on the shore field. Now these shims, I've got some on already, I've got another one here. These actually set the preload on the bearing, so they're really important. I checked the play on the bearings before I took the wheel off, and I'll check it again, but if we need to adjust it we need to add or take away depending on what we want the bearing to do. If we want the bearing to tighten up, we'd take a shim out. If we need to loosen it up a bit, we'd add a shim in. Sorry about the noise, the wind turbine is going like mad. That's the half shaft back in. I just need to do the bolts up on the back side. There we go, the new shoes are on, and a little look at the old one. You can see it's right down to the rivets. If we look at the new ones, you can see how much it's worn down compared to them. So when tightening up these, I've done it so the washer can move, because that's an eye lock, and I've put some Loctite on there, just a little smidge. You want that to free float, so it's not nipping on the shoe, so that can move backwards and forwards, so it moves in that slot. There we go, she's ready to go back together with the drum. Today we're going to change the back end oil on the tractor and the gear oil. I'm not going with universal tractor oil, I'm actually going to put a little bit more heavier gear oil in the back because I don't want to use the hydraulics, the setup we've got, so we'll just go with some good quality gear oil in the back end. And you'll see me with my shades on, it's not just because I want to look cool, it's that one weekend in in March even, in the UK where we've had a nice weekend. I've managed to just crack it off with a spanner, so let's see what we get out of here. I've got 3 tubs. And I've got a socket set right next to me, it's probably going to get full of oil. Ew. Had a quick change of the tubs there, absolutely brimming. So I've got some oil there, I've put a funnel in the top, and I'm going to run some of the clean oil through just to try and flush this back end out. So don't mind using a good bit of oil to chase out the bad stuff. There's a couple of different drain points as well I'm going to open on the bottom. I've just took the drain plug out, which is sort of below the gear stick, if you will. There's one there, so I've just took that out as well. Now we've topped her up with oil, and we'll just test the level. I've checked it a few times, I've just topped it up again. And it's hard to tell with that oil, but hopefully seeing the reflection I'm seeing, and it looks full. I'll check it again off camera, because I'm holding news and doing that, but hopefully we're good. There we go, that's the oil all topped up, it's now at the correct level. So that's another job ticked off the list. What happens if we swap the straight pipe for this? Let's get a sound of the straight pipe. Here we go. Just a quick run through the sponsors. We mentioned we've got Tony Brown Aggregates sponsoring the fuel, APUK for the tractor parts, and a new sponsor is talkingheadsets.co.uk, who are kindly going to provide us with some Bluetooth e-defenders with a microphone. Let's take a look. There was some sweets in here, but they didn't last very long. So we've got these ear defenders, so it'll drown out the noise of the tractor. They will connect to my phone, so I'll be able to hear any calls, I'll be able to keep in contact with my dad when he's driving the motorhome, but also I can listen to music. With these little sponges going over these microphones, that should protect it from the wind, and I can film with the phone you're watching this on and hear the audio from these. We'll try that out now.
This is me now talking to you via the headset on the Bluetooth. So even if the camera was quite a few meters away, you would still get the same audio you're getting now. And it'll give me some hearing protection.